SDS2 Connect can design end plate connections skewed or perpendicular for flat or sloping elements and to vertical or sloping columns. There are several options within setup that will affect the outcome of end plate connections. The first options are in schedule of minimums. This will determine the minimum bolt diameter, rows of bolts, and top of steel the first hole distance to be used in end plates as well as other connections. These options can have different settings based on the nominal depth of beam being connected. Standard fabricator connections for end plate contains edge distance options. Horizontal edge distance will use a minimum of the greater value from table J 3.5 in the 9th edition ASD and 1 1/4 inches recommended on page 4-49. Other options include minimum thickness, center to center distances for wide and narrow gauge, standard hole type, minimum flange to first hole dimension for moment end plates. If auto is selected for this, the distance used will be the bolt diameter plus ½ inch plus the size of the flange weld. Combined beam and vertical brace end plates work similar to the same option for clip angles and shear plates. Use expanded vertical bolt spacing applies when an axial load is entered on the end of a beam. SDS2 Connect will attempt to expand the vertical spacing of bolts to 1.5 or 2 times the normal spacing. When editing connections, connection specifications will contain different options to determine end plate grade, gauge, etc. The options such as safety connection, expanded vertical bolt spacing, and combined end plates will look to the setup option to determine what to do when automatic is selected. Yes or no would be used to override what is in setup for certain situations. In the case of safety connections, users can choose to have a non-safety, safety notch, or safety offset. Let's show an example of the different types of safety connections. In this case, the first example we'll show is a safety notch. SDS2 Connect will notch one side of the end plate to create a safety connection. Now we will set this to a safety offset connection. And in the case of our safety connections, we need to make certain that this is set for both connections that need to be a safety connection. If this were set in setup, a setting of automatic should give us desirable results. The last option we will look at in connection specifications for end plates is the option to extend plate to beam flanges. This will extend the end plate past the supported beam's flanges, the distance specified in extension dimension. A minimum of 1/2 inch is allowed. This also will only apply if an axial load is specified for this end of the beam. Thank you for watching the SDS2 Connect end plate tutorial.